I'm going to start questioning with discussion of Title 42, which I'm sure will be discussed quite extensively during this committee, and we'll have some other issues. But we know that Title 42 has severely limited border security enforcement strategies, like the consequence delivery system. The consequence delivery system started back in 2008 and was designed to impose escalating consequences on individuals who are crossing the border illegally. And quite frankly, it worked. And I have this chart to show how consequence delivery system worked. As you can see here from 2008 when it went into effect, these are folks that are coming across the border on a repeated basis, but it significantly decreased the number of folks coming across the border until you can see there in 2019, where we have a huge increase. That's when the Trump administration suspended the consequence delivery system to implement Title 42. So you can see once that happens with Title 42, a major spike once again going up of folks that are coming repeatedly over the border. Under Title 42, migrants are pushed back to Mexico with no consequences, and they have no reason not to keep trying. And they keep trying. They come back many, many times, as you can see that increase. And then it levels off. That flattening is with the Biden administration. It then flattened at that point. But you see this huge increase going back to the days before consequence was put in place. Now we have incredible strain because of folks coming over constantly. In fact, since the start of fiscal year 2021, the Border Patrol has encountered more than 900,000 migrants that they have seen at least once before, but they've probably seen them many, many times as they keep trying over and over again. There are no consequences. That's been eliminated with Title 42. So they keep trying until they get through. And when Title 42 is terminated, it's my sense that consequences need to be in place, like expedited removal and prosecution to decrease these illegal crossings and these repeat offenders, which are skewing the numbers we see over here. It's just because people are coming over so many times, the numbers are up, and that's a consequence. Because the consequence system is gone, with Title 42, you start seeing a big increase there because of repeat offenders. So my question for Mr. Nunes-Neto, does the department plan to reinstate consequences to reduce the rate of repeat crossers who have taken advantage of Title 42 public health order?
Thank you for that question, Chairman. And you are exactly right that under Title 42, the lack of any real consequences.
Sorry, would you start over, please?
Yeah, so thank you, Chairman, for the question. And you're exactly right that under Title 42, the lack of consequences leads to, roughly half of individuals being re-encountered subsequently. And we are committed to imposing consequences as part of the administration's plan that, again, is in my written testimony. Part of those consequences is really ramping up our use of expedited removal for those who are removable, and also, doing a focused prosecution campaign on individuals whose conduct warrants it, and that includes individuals who are recidivists, who cross multiple times. It also includes individuals who may seek to evade capture. I would note one thing, Chairman, which is we've actually already begun implementing consequences for recidivists. Starting about 2 months ago, we began an effort to identify Title 42 recidivists and start imposing expedited removal on them to levy a consequence. And we plan to continue to increase that in the coming weeks.
So if I can paraphrase, without these consequences, we're putting a real strain on our folks at the border because we've got people just coming over, sent back to Mexico. They come back later that day. They come back the next week, the 2 weeks, constantly. Huge strain. Once consequences are in place, we can reinstate that. Title 42 is allowing people to keep coming over and over again, constantly inflating these numbers. That once consequences put in place, you would expect to start seeing a decrease again, like we saw in the past, which seemed to be pretty successful prior to Title 42?
I think that's absolutely correct, sir.
Great. Title 42 has also eliminated the safest and most orderly pathway for asylum seekers to apply for protections. When asylum seekers are turned away at the ports of entry, which they are with the situation right now, then they're forced to cross between the ports instead of coming in the ports of entry. This clearly endangers themselves, but it also strains our border security folks because we're pushing folks away from the ports of entry to try other ways to get in. So my question for you, Chief Hoffman, could you please describe the specific steps that the administration is undertaking to increase our capacity at ports of entry so we can safely process asylum seekers, ensure efficient processing of trade and travel, and then allow the Border Patrol agents to carry out their law enforcement duties in between ports of entry?
Thank you for that question. I'd be glad to address that. Yes, it is part of the process to encourage asylum seekers to go back through the ports of entry if possible to do that. But in order to do that, we have to have the capacity to be able to process them as much as we can. To that end, we are doing a number of things to get ready to that and do that. We've actually processed over the last few months several exceptions to the Title 42 already in preparation of this also. But we have detailed so far up to 255 additional personnel to the ports of entry on the southwest border to do that. We're working also to leverage better technology to do that with, using the CBP One app to encourage people to apply to get as much advanced processing information as possible as they arrive to the port of entry to increase the efficiencies. Because in order to increase efficiencies, there's really two ways. You either increase your footprints or you improve your processes. And the footprint is what it is at a port of entry. So we're going to have to work on improving our processes to improve our efficiencies. And OFO is working diligently to do that and are in preparation for that. But it's not without some concerns when the volumes arrive. There's a good likelihood there could be longer lines. There could be some delays, slow things down. But the port directors have the authority to make the decisions, to form the lines as they need to, and do those things process to move it as efficiently as they can. We're going to build on a lot of the past lessons we learned when this was going on previously and continue to process them through that way.
First, Ms. Contreras, my question is for you. CBP facilities are clearly not an acceptable location to house unaccompanied minors, and you mentioned that in your testimony, but how is HHS cooperating across departments to ensure sufficient resources are in place to prevent vulnerable children from spending extended amounts of time in these CBP facilities?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I think we would all agree, that all of my colleagues on this panel, that HHS is the child welfare agency. It is our job to, when children are referred to us, be able to take them as quickly as we can into our care. What we see now is that the average length of stay in CBP is less than 24 hours, and that's an accomplishment everyone has worked very hard on. We have had a lot of coordination between our teams of ORR, CPP, and throughout DHS in order to make sure that we're coordinating and that we are taking care of children as soon as we can. What you see is there's been some co-location of staff that is a big part of being able to make that happen. So this remains a priority. We're glad that that number is down to less than a day in the custody of CBP, and that's something that will remain a priority in our work.
All right, thank you. Fentanyl and other illicit narcotics are harming our communities, and we certainly need to do everything we can to stop them from entering in the country. In February of this year, I led my colleagues in requesting additional funding for non-intrusive inspection systems that will improve CBP officers' ability to interdict these illegal drugs. Chief Hoffman, could you please discuss for the committee the impact of non-intrusive inspection systems on CBP's rate of narcotics interdictions?
Thank you for that question, Senator, and be happy to discuss that a little bit. As you know, as you mentioned, fentanyl is a huge threat to our nation right now, and we're seeing a lot of it, and the amount we're seeing seems to increase every year. Most of the fentanyl now is coming across the southern border being encountered at the ports of entry, primarily in San Diego and Otay Mesa, two main areas we're seeing most of the fentanyl coming across. And then one of the main tools we use to encounter that is the NI equipment that we're grateful to have. It helps us to be very successful in identifying that stuff, because fentanyl is a unique narcotic as opposed to big bundles of marijuana or whatever. It can be easily stored. What we've seen recently, though, is we've seen an increasing number of packages caught, but in smaller quantities, indicating they're adjusting their tactics as well. You know, maybe trying to beat our NI capabilities. The smaller the package, but more across increases their chances to get across. But currently, CBP is utilizing over 350 large-scale and over 4,500 small-scale non-intrusive inspection systems across the southwest border to inspect cargo, containers, commercial trucks, rail cars, privately owned vehicles. And we use them not just at the ports of entry, but some of our interior checkpoints as well. By FY23, CBP expects to increase the NI scans to these vehicles by up to 40% more with the equipment we have coming. And so as we're able to increase the scans, we obviously expect increased encounters of narcotics, but also the more we increase, the better we're able to deter future action on that thing. So it is a very important tool. We're very appreciative we have that, and we will continue to use that greatly across all of our borders.
So given that it's an effective tool and you'd like to spread it, how many additional non-intrusive inspection systems do you think are needed to fully equip all of our nation's ports of entry?
So I'm not sure the right number to have that with me, Senator, but I'd be glad to get that back to you if I consult more with my OFO colleagues to give you the exact number.
Well, we'd like that, so I'd appreciate that. Another question for you, sir, is what efforts is CBP undertaking to ensure that the information gathered related to drug smuggling is shared among our partner agencies in order to better combat the transnational criminal organizations that are operating these operations?
Thank you, sir. I think I appreciate that question as well. Our ability to share information with our partners in this is key in order to be successful. So we participate extensively in different task force and that we partner with our different agencies at the federal level, state level, and local level, depending on what we're doing. We work closely with ICE and HSI on cases collaboratively. The information we gather at our encounters is shared with them almost all the time. I mean, we never cease to do that. Same with DEA. We facilitate information across the whole range, whether it's on our southern border, northern border, interior. We participate in a number of joint operations with our state and locals and also our Stone Garden partners, and we share that information across in different meetings and things that we have in order to ensure we do that. I think our ability to work together with all our partners and all agencies makes us a better place, a better organization, and much more effective, and we continue to do that on a regular basis. I've been doing this for many years, and we participate at all levels at all times, and it's just invaluable to be able to share that information with those partners.
I appreciate that. Thank you.